Today I thought I'd just do a quick video on how I've set up an overflow and a rainwater top-up system for my dream pond. G'day, my name is Kev. The aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, feel free to subscribe and check out my website, ozponds.com. So a few months ago, when I sort of stopped actively working on the pond, I just created the overflow, and at that time it just spilt out onto the grass. But now that our summer is over, it's time to start thinking and acting on the next stage of this build. If I had just left the overflow as it is, it would overflow and run across the basketball area that we're trying to create for the kids. So I needed to tie in the overflow into the existing drainage system. And seeing as I was digging anyway, why not add in another pipe that can bring rainwater into the pond if I need to top it up? So here's just a quick overview of what I did. The overflow is just the lowest point of the liner. I added the rock and the pebble so it blends in and looks a bit like a dry creek bed. So this is the point of the pond where the water is going to spill out once it gets full. So I got one of those stormwater pits with a metal grate. I drilled in a hole to accept the stormwater pipe. I also drilled in a hole in the base to drain away any water that would otherwise sit inside the pit. In my experience, ponds don't attract mosquitoes, but stagnant water certainly does. I put the hole up higher on the pit, just to let any pebbles, etc. that might get washed down the overflow, just to let them sink into the bottom of the pit. This just felt right to me to help prevent the pipe from becoming clogged over time. And I added the extra pipe that is going to carry rainwater from one of the downpipes that's on the house. Now I'm not sure if you can tell on the photo, but the ground slopes down towards the bottom of the picture. So for the overflow to join up with the existing drainage, this is perfect. But the rainwater that's going to fill up the pond, well, that needs to run uphill. So here's one of my terrible sketches to try and help explain how that's done without a pump. We use the hydraulic pressure that builds up in the pipe. It's essential that the pipe is completely watertight. To create the hydraulic pressure, the gutters from the house need to be at least 500 mil. That's a little under 2 foot from the discharge, which in this case is my pond. These systems are called wet systems, as the water is always in the pipe. They're commonly used for rainwater capture in tanks. But yeah, if you want to see the nitty-gritty of how these systems work, you can just Google rainwater capture wet system. So then it was just a matter of gluing all the pipework together. It's important that there's a constant fall on the pipe that is taking away the overflow water. The top-up pipe doesn't really matter so long as it's got that 500 mil difference to maintain that hydraulic pressure. To make sure I was maintaining an appropriate fall on the overflow, I just used a spirit level. And I also ran a test with a garden hose just to make sure before I backfilled everything. I did the same for the rainwater top-up, and here it is successfully coming out up in the pond. So here's the overflow joining up with the existing stormwater system. Now I only want the rainwater topping the pond up when necessary, so I added in this 3-way valve. For the most part, I just want the water from the gutter going into the existing drainage system. But if it's raining or going to rain and I want to fill the pond, I can flick the valve and direct the water up to the pond. So the pipe on the right takes water to the pond, and the pipe on the left just takes the water into the existing drainage system. You can see the wet system is really well glued to ensure everything is watertight. The dry system at the T-junction I've left unglued just in case there's ever a blockage, and that way I can easily pull it apart to clean it out. It's just gravity fed, so the water isn't under any pressure, and it'll just follow the path of least resistance. I could have added a first flush system, but because I'll only be periodically flicking the valve, I didn't think it was necessary. If I need to add one in the future, it'll be pretty easy. It also probably wouldn't hurt to have a clean out port for the wet system, but a good portion of the pipework runs exposed along the side of the house, so if I need to cut it and unblock it, I might add something in then, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's how I've set up my overflow and rainwater top-up. I'm sure there's plumbers out there cringing, but it does work and it fulfills my needs. I should also mention that on my smaller ponds, I haven't even worried about an overflow. Once the ponds are full, the water just sweeps out over the liner and into the surrounding gardens, and I've had no issue with that. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I'll see you next time. Catch ya.